Hey, everybody. I'm with Nick Henrich, a former Nebraska linebacker. He is driving to McCook, Nebraska right now. And
Yep.
so I'm happy. I'm happy he decided to hop on real quick. We've been trying to get this figured out, get this scheduled for a couple days now, and I'm happy we got this going. I
Oh, thanks
promise.
for having me on, brother.
Yeah,
I'm excited to be here.
yeah. I promised you this was going to be short and sweet. So I'll let you just tell everybody who you are and what you're doing right now.
Yeah. Well, said I'm Nick Henrich. I played linebacker at Nebraska. Just hung up the cleats officially a couple months ago, and yeah, had an amazing 5 years there. A lot of trials and injuries, but man, it was a heck of a story. So I was very blessed with my career and met a lot of great people like yourself, AJ. So I'm I'd still consider myself very lucky. Obviously, I had dreams of going to the NFL like any kid does, growing up playing football. But it wasn't my path, and yeah, a very
Yeah,
blessed career. So hung it up now.
yeah. Well, I think we have a unique history with each other. We played one another in high school. You being
Oh yeah.
You being a Burt Bulldog and me being a Bellevue T Bird. And uh, God, when we played each other, I hated you because
Oh yeah. No, likewise.
I
You guys suck. You're so you're always like this darn Bell Westo line is just. I mean, you guys had some units on there, and God, it was always fun going up against you guys. So
dude. So the best story that I have be, between me and you is
uh
there is a play on my senior year highlight tape where I'm pulling on a power. I fit you up. I pancake you, and then you pop up and make the tackle. And I'm
hot
so
stove, baby.
and dude I remember watching. I remember that play specifically because you were the only person in my football career where I have pancaked, and then you immediately get up and make the tackle, and I'm just like, I don't know what else I
Yeah,
could have done.
like what is going on here?
Yeah,
This guy,
because
yeah, I was a
the
little lunatic, man.
yeah,
Sometimes Coach Rude, who obviously was my linebacker. I mean, fantastic guy. He had a saying that was really stuck with me. It was called "Gunfighters get shot," which
yeah,
basically means if you throw yourself around in there enough, you're gonna get trucked, you're gonna get juked, you're gonna get
yeah,
pancaked, but you just got to get up and keep playing. So
yeah.
that was uh, that was a little, I guess, preview of the gunfighters get shot
Yeah,
saying.
well, yeah. I mean, because you were obviously the best linebacker I went up against when I was in high school, and then we obviously played each other when we were in college,
Uh
and
huh.
and and you ended up staying at Nebraska when I left, and we had some battles when we were there, and you obviously had a great career. But what I really wanted to talk to you about is just kind of the nasty side of football,
Uh huh.
and in sports in general, where a lot of fans don't understand a lot of fans don't understand that once the season starts, nobody's healthy.
No, not at all.
No,
Healthy is this figment of our imagination that we wish we could truly grasp, but no
yeah,
one's healthy.
yeah, and unfortunately, you've had to deal with a lot of really tough injuries, season ending injuries.
Yeah.
So just talk about talk about the kind of injuries that you had when you were playing, and just
Yeah.
kind of expand on those.
Yeah. I mean, I think I was always pretty like an injury prone guy, kind of even in high school, just with soft tissue and stuff like that. My first like big injury was tearing my right shoulder the first time in high school. That was my junior year. And then I played the rest of the season, got surgery after. Then the next year I tore my left PCL, which was like a grade 3 tear. And then tried to come back and limp through the state game with a knee brace, which was not cleared at all to do that. So, I got a solid probably 10 plays in before it gave out again. And
Yeah.
couldn't do that. And then, yeah, my first year at Nebraska, I retore this labrum and had a Latarjet like bone reconstructive procedure. So I was out pretty much the first year there. COVID year, I tore my other PCL, but was healthy in time for the season, which was great.
Mm-hmm.
So that's when I kind of started playing towards the end of that COVID year. Then 2021 was my only like season that I can remember other than my junior high school where I played the entire year without really dealing with a major ligament tear or something like that. I had a left knee scope because of a fracture in the off season, but that was a couple month deal and I was plenty healthy by that time. Then, so now what are we on? 2020. It's a long list. I
Yeah,
apologize.
no, that's why I'm here,
no,
dude.
no, now we're at 2022. I broke my third metacarpal in my hand. Got surgery on the day after the Ireland game, and then I tore my right ACL. That was the first ACL tear I had, which was by far the hardest and most strenuous deal. And then retore that ACL this past season, and I also actually tore my other shoulder, my left labrum this year as well, which was just kind of a, like, as you know, like you're never healthy. So it was something you kind of play through and rehab through. You want to do it. So,
Yeah.
but hard to play through a torn ACL. So I ended up getting surgery on that. That was it for me after that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like we were talking about in before I started recording here. Obviously, in the state of Nebraska, people understand just how good of a football player you were, but you were. It was unfortunate that you had to suffer the amount of injuries that you had. I'm kind of in the same. I'm not in the same boat. I was lucky enough to go through my career. I think I played 42 games, I think.
That's awesome.
In my career, and I was fortunate enough to not miss really any time with a season-ending or career-ending injury. My first year at the University of Montana, we played in the spring of 2020 or 2021 while you guys had your fall season in 2020. And I was just sitting on the couch and working out in like a 10-person group. We ended up having that spring season where we play. You can't even really call it a season. It was 2 games. We played a D2 school with Central Washington, and then we played Portland State University that second game. But in that second, yeah,
that's just so weird. That's just crazy. Like,
yeah,
that was I remember that was such a strange time for everyone, and just it was so weird.
Yeah, and so in that second game, I ended up having they called it a patellar subluxation, and so everyone who doesn't have a kinesiology background, that just means my kneecap just went to the side of my knee and it came back in. It didn't stay out, but it went out and came back in.
Yeah.
And so I had to fight through that deal through that entire summer leading up to the season, because that was the first season where I was being looked at to be a starter even. And then we go and we play the University of Washington up at the University of Washington. Yeah. And we beat them, but I remember it was kind of a question whether or not whether or not my knee was going to be able to hold up. And so did a big old tape job on it going into that game. And I remember after the first play, my O-line coach, was kind of looking at me, and he was kind of looking at me on the sideline. And was like, "You good?" He was giving me a thumbs up.
Are you okay?
And I was like, and I was happy because I didn't feel anything. It was good. It was solid. So I went through the whole season doing that, and it was fine. And then the following 2 years, I had to kind of deal with that same kneecap I got it to the point now
Uh-huh.
where it ain't going anywhere. But
Which
that
is
was
good.
an
Yeah.
issue. Yeah, that was an issue I had to deal with for a while where you just kind of feel it kind of slide in and out, and it's painful.
Yeah.
And
Certainly makes it certainly makes playing football a lot harder.
yeah,
Any
and
sort of
then
injury like that where you're just fighting through it.
yeah, and then then this last season we were playing Fair State for our for one of our home games in the third game of the season, and it was like I think it was like the 10th play. It was like the 10th play of the game where
Uh-huh.
someone dove in to make a tackle, and yeah, my leg was right there, and suffered a grade. Really, it was probably closer to a grade 3, but it was a grade 2 MCL tear,
Uh-huh.
and I missed.
Each.
Yeah, and I missed. I want to say about a quarter and a half of that game. So because I
And
went
then you're
and
back.
yeah, exactly because
Yeah.
I went up to the locker room, and it kind of made me nervous because I was on the usually when you get hurt you get taken to the sideline, right, and they check you out
Uh-huh.
there. They took me from the middle of the field where I got hurt straight up to the locker room, and I was like, all right, that's not good because
No, no, all right. That's
that's
not
not
good. Yeah.
yeah, that's not standard operating procedure.
Uh-huh.
And so they go up and they do the tests, and I feel good enough to where I can get dressed again, and I can just put the knee brace back on and you tape it up and you call it good. And I remember asking our trainer that was working with me. She was taping me up, and I was like, "Hey, what's the score? What's the score? What's the score?"
Yeah.
And I think at that point it was like middle of the second quarter, and it was like 7-3, and we
Oh
were
wow.
losing, and we were losing. And I was
Yeah.
like,
So
all
you're
right.
like, I gotta
I was
get
like,
back out
I'm
there.
going back in. And
Yeah.
so I finished that game, and that was a real, and I didn't miss a game after that. But that was such a difficult, like it was just mentally and physically, it was such a taxing thing to have to deal with because you go in the morning and you're there at 6 a.m., 7 a.m., and you're doing
Uh-huh.
rehab, and you're doing all these things to try to even get good enough to walk up and down the stairs, let alone
Yeah.
playing a game, you know. And
Exactly. It's so strenuous when everyone talks about how grueling the season is, which it is for everyone. But then if you have a nick where you're like, okay, if I don't go in and, start my warm up and treatment 2 hours before, I won't be able to practice. And then
mhm,
you're like, well, then my spot's going to get lost. And it's just,
yeah,
yeah, it's such a tedious process.
yeah, and it's just like uh, I just don't think people understand like this the things that athletes have to go, not just football players. Obviously, we're football players, so we're talking about football.
Yeah.
But just athletes in general, I don't think people understand that there are so many things that need to happen just to get to game day.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
It's, yes.
because from I remember it was like a 10-week thing because they told me I could probably take 4 weeks off and it'd be fully healed. But
Uh,
it was my senior season. I knew we had a good team. I knew we could make a run. I was like, yeah, I'm just gonna fight through it. You
yeah.
know?
We're
Um,
rolling through this one. Yeah.
yeah, and so it took probably, I don't know, 9-10 weeks before I felt really good about it. But
Yeah.
it's just from like it was from Sunday to essentially Friday night was just getting good enough. It was just trying to get good
Yeah.
enough to go. And I'm sure you have I say the same stories to go along with that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I feel like the hard part is too, you get kind of a certain point, and even if you don't have anything glaringly wrong with you, you're still kind of in that mode of just like, gosh, yeah, like I don't have anything torn, but I'm still just fighting to like Like you've been through so many procedures already, and your body's shot just doing anything, and you're like, I
Mm-hmm.
still kind of going through that process, even though nothing is glaringly torn or wrong with me. So
Mm-hmm.
I think that's probably one of the biggest misconceptions is even if someone doesn't have a torn MCL, they're still could be on that same schedule and that same like grind to just even get to the game,
Yeah.
which is
I
crazy.
Yeah. Do you I think you were gone by this time, but you remember Tanner Farmer?
I remember I never played with him. I remember that first story about him and stuff. Yeah, I know who he is.
Yeah, so Tanner Farmer was like when my freshman year, he was really like the upperclassman that like took me under his wing and like
Uh,
made my freshman year somewhat tolerable, you know.
right.
And so
It's never it's never great. So yeah.
and so I remember during the summer he would spend like an hour or two in the training room just doing stuff. And I remember asking him at one point, like, hey, so like, what's wrong with you? Because in high school, your head coach is always telling you to stay out of the training room unless you have something seriously wrong with you.
Uh,
You know,
exactly.
and at this point, I'm talking to a fifth year senior in Tanner, and I'm asking him what's wrong with him because he's going to the training room 1 to 2 hours a day, and he was just like, oh, nothing's
Yeah.
wrong with me. I'm just trying to maintain the health that I have. And so, I don't think I got that. I don't think I understood that when I was a freshman, but the older I've gotten, yeah,
Yeah.
as I continue to play this sport, I 100% understand what he was trying to do because
Uh-huh.
that's real.
The notion of prehab is something that I did not didn't really catch up to me until it was, you know what I mean? I was like, yeah, I probably should be. I'm healthy now, but boy, if I
Hmm.
don't do all this preparation, I'm not going to be healthy throughout a 12 game Big Ten season. So
Yeah.
that's very very wise words from Mr. Farmer there.
So, another interesting tidbit between our relationship is you graduated with a degree in psychology, right?
I did. Yep.
Yeah, so we both got a bachelor's in psych, and
Uh huh.
I remember having a couple classes with you
Yes.
when we were both on campus together. And one of the reasons why I got into psych, besides the fact that like half the credits were electives, um,
That is
was
certainly that certainly helps out.
yeah, but really the primary reason that I wanted to get my degree in psych is because I thought there was a real um there was the ability to take the concepts that you learn and some of those classes, some of those classes are going to be, you know, you're not really going to use it unless you're going to be a therapist or a psychiatrist or whatever. But
Right.
there's a lot of things in some of those classes where I thought could easily be translated into real life. And
Oh yeah.
so as you think about your academic career at Nebraska,
Uh huh.
what lessons just from studying psych for 4 years, what are some things that you have taken and applied to your own life?
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be athletics. It can be anything. Obviously we're talking about basically overcoming adversity right now, but yeah, just kind
Uh
of
huh.
talk about the things you've learned and the things you've been able to apply.
Yeah. I think the biggest one with psychology that stood out to me was having the ability to just reset on the field, I guess, and use kind of strategies to trick my brain into basically moving on from a bad play. And those were something that I really worked with the sports psychology staff on actually, because I got the idea from George Kittle where he like physically wrote like a button on his wrist tape, and it was his reset button that he would click after he like dropped a pass or something.
Yeah.
And I thought that was just kind of pretty fascinating to me. And
Mm-hmm.
I would just say more of stuff like that where I really took it and applied it to real life. I mean, psychology was always really fascinating. I still, you know, to this, even though I'm not in college and studying it, I still like to listen to, the Andrew Hubermans and the
Yeah.
kind of the people that are way smarter than me about that, like the brain and how it functions and stuff like that. And yeah, I think it was overall, it was a really interesting degree and stuff. I think I remember we were both sitting in class asking what we wanted to do with it. And neither one of us really knew, but we were kind of, just like, what do you want to do with this? I don't know. I just thought it was interesting. And I was like, yeah, same. So
Yeah.
I think overall it was still a really interesting and good experience to learn.
Yeah. Talk a little bit more about working with a sports psychologist, because at one point that was something that I felt like I could be interested in doing in life after football. So
Uh-huh.
and I remember when I was at UNL, that they weren't pushing it, but they were letting us know that it was available, and I thought that was an interesting, uh because you always hear about mental health, and dealing
Right.
with mental health, and it's almost taboo to talk about in a lot of athletic departments. But talk about your experiences
Yeah.
dealing with a sports psychologist, and I'm sure even with dealing with injuries, I'm sure that those were topics of conversations that you had.
Oh yeah. I mean, I think the really one of the why I started going in to see Dr. Haskell's the head sports psychologist at Nebraska was because I was dealing with all these injuries, and I really just was, not in a good state mentally because of it. And I just that was kind of the reason why I went in there was like, okay, I need to deal with these. And like you said, mental health is kind of a pretty tough topic for a lot of guys, especially because it's, not really manly to talk about your feelings, but
Yeah.
it's just, yeah, it's looked at in a very negative way. And so I didn't really know exactly what to do. And so that was for me, was a great outlet to, get stuff off my chest and just have someone to listen, and then realize okay, I have these problems. How am I going to deal with them? And, how am I going to get better from this? So I think that's the main reason, as well as just learning how to trust my body again, because once you have a traumatic injury, you go to, run a ball carrier down, or you go to even plan off of your knee, you're just hesitant naturally.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's the biggest advantages to having a sports psychologist. I think every athlete across, no matter what sport you have, if you have the resources, should go see one, because so much of every sport, especially at our level that we were at and beyond, is mental. So if you can master and understand the mental side of it, you're going to be a lot better off physically, and just your mental health and emotional health will be so much better.
Yeah. Obviously I'm in the process of training for the next level and getting ready for the pro day coming up in April. And the more that I've looked into this whole deal,
Uh-huh.
when you look at the end, like just the league, like the NFL, every guy in there's a freak.
Oh yeah.
Every guy's, and we've seen it firsthand. We've seen plenty of guys, and we've played against plenty of guys that have had NFL opportunities or been in the NFL. So we've had the opportunity to see what that looks like. But I think, like you said, I think the main difference is the mental side of things, and being able to
Yeah.
being able to hone in on the on the seemingly nuanced pieces of it, because being an athlete is being athletic is only going to take you so far.
Right.
And I think that mental aspect of the game is super valuable. And so
Yeah.
I think the last thing I want to ask you is, besides making your excursion to McCook right now. What are you doing in life? What's
Yeah,
what's life after football look like for Nick Henrich right now?
yeah, that's a great question. Right now, I'm kind of dipping my toe in a couple different areas of life. I'm working with the athletic development actually at the University of Nebraska, which is, if you know, had really good relationship with Trev, and I'd had conversations with him about what it would, take to potentially be an athletic director someday, and
Hmm.
the kind of the pros and cons of being in that position at a university. And this is kind of the route you take as you go through development, and you learn how a university is funded and its inner workings. So I'm doing that right now at the University of Nebraska, and training some kids at this gym in Lincoln, which is actually with Coach Sniper.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah. Which we both, he was a strength coach at Nebraska with us, and
Yeah.
yeah, I'm currently going to McCook to spread the gospel. Going to talk at a church tomorrow morning, so I'm super excited for that. Just diving in deeper with my faith has been great. Man, life after football it's interesting, right? Because you played this game your whole life, like we have. I don't know when you started, but probably around 7 or 8 years old, I
Yep.
assume.
Yep. 7 years old playing tackle
Yeah.
football because I was fat.
No, you weren't fat. You probably wanted to be the quarterback, huh?
No, I was always an offensive lineman, dude. I was fat. I was fat. I
you
was
kind
fat.
you kind of knew. You're like, no, this is where I'm gonna.
Yeah,
This is where I'm gonna get.
I had no hopes of being a ball carrier when I was growing up. But I'm like you.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Anyway, you start playing so young. I mean, it's all too, because it's truly a year-round sport. Once you get to high school and above, you're just trying to get recruited, and that's a whole nother ball game of just how
yeah,
tedious it can be. And then you go to college and you realize, like, oh gosh, like I'm so close to like my childhood dream, the NFL, and then all of a sudden, like you can, like I was planning on doing a pro day and
yeah,
all, like really gonna, just I had a shot, like I was ready to sign with an agent and everything, and
yeah, for sure.
then that the second ACL tear, it's like you're going to be out another year at least, and it was a pretty complicated repair. You probably, you know what I mean. So it's just like that shot's kind of gone, and your career can end any moment, which is tough. But I think that's why it's so important to, not have your identity be just in football, and understand that, no matter what, there's more to life than it is a game. It's a beautiful game. It's an amazing game, but there's a lot more stuff out there as well. So any young athlete, I would just encourage them to, go for your dreams and go all in on it, and realize when you hang up the cleats one day, like you're going to be okay. Like there's still a whole lot of life left.
Well, shoot, I can't come up with a better conclusion than that, dude. That was awesome. Well,
Oh, thank you.
I told you this was going to be short and sweet. You gave some great insight. I think people listening to this will get that insight, and they will be able to better understand what athletes go through on a daily basis. It isn't just seasonal.
Yeah,
It's a daily. Sometimes it can be a daily battle to get through the things that we go through. And so I really
absolutely.
I really appreciate you opening up a little bit and getting on the phone and talking with me and doing everything you do, man.
You bet, brother. Thanks for having me on. Really appreciate you.
Yeah, we're gonna have to link up here pretty soon
Oh
because
yeah.
this is the first time we've been in the same state in a long time.
I know. Yeah, you've been out in the mountains hanging out, so it'll be good to have you back in Nebraska for a little bit.
Yeah, yes, sir. All right. Well, everyone listening, I appreciate you tuning in and hope you got something out of it.